Well, in the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has assured Nigerians that there are no plans to increase the pump price of petrol. According to presidential spokesman Ajurin Gelali, President Tinubu is taking steps to prevent increasing petrol prices without reversing the subsidy removal decision. There are concerns that the cost of petrol could rise further, even reaching 750 naira per litre. The Labour Union had threatened to go on strike if the prices increase, but the presidency has called for patience, saying Nigeria's pump prices are the most cost-effective in Africa.
Mr. President wishes to assure Nigerians, following the announcement by the NNPC Limited just yesterday, that there will be no increase in the pump price of petroleum motor spirit anywhere in the country. We repeat, the President affirms that there will be no increase in the pump price of petroleum motor spirit. It is going to be available to everybody, all right, is the Presidential Daily Brief. This is what the NNPC supplies to the President directly for his personal viewing on a morning-by-morning basis. And he's releasing it to the public this morning for the sake of full disclosure and because he wants Nigerians to ensure that there's no need for panic at this time. We have enough fuel to supply the country. The country is wet with products, and it will continue to be so. We also wish to affirm that the President is determined to maintain competitive tension within all subsectors of the petroleum industry. He is determined to ensure that our policy drawn up as well as policy implemented follows the cue that there will not be any single one entity dominating the market. The market has been deregulated, it has been liberalized, and we are moving forward in that direction without looking back.
Well, Nigeria's headline inflation rose to 24.08% in July of 2023. That's relative to the month before, which was 22.79%. Now, this shows an increase of 1.29 percentage points. On a year-on-year basis, the headline inflation rate was 4.44 percentage points, which is higher than the rate recorded in July of 2022, and which was 19.64%. In addition, on a month-on-month basis, the headline inflation rate in July of 2023 was 2.89%. 0.76% higher than the rate recorded in June also of this year. That's about 2.13%. The biggest upward contribution came from the cost of food and non-alcoholic beverages. The Nigerian government has announced the final list of ministers and their assigned portfolios. The list included former Rivers State Governor Nyesom Wike, who is now the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory. Festus Keyamo will now be the head of Aviation Ministry, and Dele Alake will man the Solid Minerals Development Ministry. Other ministers are Wale Edun, who is in charge of Finance and Coordination Minister of the Economy, Adegboyega Oyetola, Transportation Ministry, David Umahi will be in charge of Works, and Betta Edu will be in charge of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation. The President reserved the Minister of Environment and Ecological Management for Kaduna State. In the meantime, the Senate screened former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai and other ministerial nominees, but were not confirmed. A replacement is expected from Kaduna State following the withdrawal of the former governor. Now, for more on those stories, I'm joined by economist and financial analyst Dr. Boniface Chizea. Dr. Chizea, good to see you, and thanks for your time as always. Now, a few things about the inflation which many have been talking about. Things that you have also written about. You had written and warned the country about where we headed. Speak to us more of the expectation, first, how we got here and what we need to do to get out of this situation?
Well, Suleiman, thank you very much for having me. Like I said in the paper which I did, which was circulated about 2 days ago, I did say that this was hardship, this was a development which was foretold, or the development that was expected. We've gone down this path before, so it's not something that is new to us. So we just tried it, and unfortunately this time, it was worsened. But we removed the subsidy and also tried to pursue a single digit rate of exchange, and both issues, which we tried to pursue, and we did that without, in fact, adopting, being systematic about it, thinking of what palliatives and so on and so forth. It was after the horse has bolted and left the stable that we started saying, look, what then are we going to do? So it's going to be inflationary. Most businesses in this environment are dependent on foreign exchange. There's hardly any business in this environment that does not depend on some form of importation. I can't think of anyone. So to the extent that you have the exchange rates falling the way it has done over this period, and you have companies folding and trying to close, obviously we're bound to have problems. And then, of course, you add on to that the fact that we also said we're going to remove the subsidy on petroleum. So I think that we'll set ourselves a very difficult obstacle, and then I think that if we're not very careful, it will overwhelm us. The thing about inflation, it's gone up. It's the highest in 22 years, so that tells all the story. So if inflation has gone up this high, it marginalizes the poor further. So those on fixed income are those who are going to have, who will bear the brunt. So if you're on fixed income, you can't do any adjustments. Of course, if you're a trader, you will try price increases and so on and so forth to try and readjust, see if you can still maintain your position. But a fixed income earner has no alternatives, has no option. So, the pains are on. Now, there's a video which I saw, which was quite alarming. Some people speaking in Hausa, it was recorded in Hausa. And there was this video, and the people were saying that a family of 4, the mother got tired, went on for about 4 days without eating any food. And on the 4th day, they just decided to end it all. So they boiled the water, put salt into the water, and drank. And that was the end of it all. So I said to myself, it brings to mind, what's happened in Algeria experience. It was just one person immolating himself that caused the revolution in Algeria that led to the government being toppled. So I think that we better be very careful with what is happening. And I want to say that I think that the welcome development that the president has come to terms with reality by trying to make sure that we don't leave these things to free market. Like I said in the paper I did, there's no market anywhere for these things. There's no market for dollar in Nigeria. What sort of market do you have when there's only one source? And then even that source is endangered. It's not even doing well. So, and the demand is insatiable. And then as soon as you try to liberalize and say, look, people can now do whatever they wanted to do, the backlog, people who have monies that have been trapped, which they couldn't take out of this country, they'll be in a rush to take it out. And they want to do so without minding what it cost them, because whatever it is better than what it was before. It was there, I didn't have access to it, they didn't have any value. So I think that what we did was wrong-headed, and I hope we'll correct it. And I think that we should come to terms with reality. We better make sure that we don't leave anything to market forces. There's no market forces anywhere. We better not say, we're going to allow fuel prices at the market, begin to go up again. We should be very careful.
And, some of the key things you raised here, because if you look at it, the biggest upward contribution came from the cost of food and non-alcoholic beverage. And these are the staples of the everyday Nigerian. But if we backtrack and look at what the government has done by giving some grants to the states, how do you think this will help trickle down to these very Nigerians who are in dire need of such assistance?
Well, let me first of all say that when Federal Office of Statistics says that, in fact, the highest contributor is food, well, okay, we expect that because of insurrection in the land, so there's a scarcity of food items in the market. So this has been done for quite some time. But so I'll take that with a pinch of salt. I think that for me, what is pressing is what's happening in the fuel market and what is happening in the exchange rate market. But the government has done well to push out palliatives. Again, we have to be very careful because you push out this palliative, again, it might be, to some extent, it's going to be inflationary. It's going to impact on the inflation because they're pushing money into the system. So, but it's better we did that because, like I said earlier on, the people are hurting. So we needed to do that. But then the concern now is that this money, if you go by our records, to what extent are we going to show fidelity with if you like, the things that inform the government giving this money to the states. The states have not proven to be that upright in handling resources. So that's why one of the major problems we have in our country is corruption. So how are you going to make sure that the 5 billion naira is going to be spent for the purpose? Well, I understand that some states have already received 2 billion naira. So, and they're going to have 1 billion in forms of grains and so on coming from the central bank. And so, well, okay, that will go to the states. And I think that's, we don't have a social register that says these are the poor and so on. So how are you going to determine those who are poor? How are you going to make sure that that thing is not going to be abused? And so that's the challenge now for us is to make sure we should, first of all, begin to compile a social register. What happened in the past, like the governors did observe, there was no transparency. So we need to begin to compile a genuine social register. And then we begin to get to those who are poor. And then spending this money must be tracked. If it's not tracked, again, it's going to be diverted. It doesn't take much for us to guess that that's likely to happen. So the corruption in the land is incredible. The value system is upside down. And so people come by wealth, they come by riches, and nobody cares, what they did, to come by such riches. So I think that we need to be very careful with this money. It's been pushed out. I think it shows that this government is concerned, and I think it's the right thing to do. But then, if you ask me, it's going to be a difficult challenge to make sure that there's no abuse and to make sure that this palliative, gets to those who are deserving to get it. To make sure that, again, we don't do the usual Nigerian approach, take Nigerian approach, to handle some of these issues, and they will give the thing
and
out.
Dr. Chizea,
diverted, and governors yes.
Let me jump in here, apologies.
Yes.
That's from the federal government. But again, sometimes we're quick to forget that the regional government, that's the states, also have a part to play in all of this. So while they were in Abuja talking about that palliative coming from the federal government, what should we be expecting from the states?
Well, the states, in fact, the record is that nobody cares about the states in Nigeria. And I said to us, you cannot clap with one hand. You can't do that. So we cannot you have just one federal government. And all eyes are centered on the federal government. Yes, admittedly, most of the resources are actually the federal government. But it's shared. And so there's a need for us, if you must have balanced development, that attention is also shifted to the states. The states, houses of assembly, they're just they're just beholden. That has been the experience, beholden to the state governors. And so you don't have, but there was a time, I think it was on your program, I did say that we have budgets produced at the center and we discuss budgets, we analyze budgets. Nobody ever talks about budgets, even for Lagos State. Although somebody corrected me to say that they do that, but even if they did that, it's not something that some of us know, and I think I play in the public space. And so we need to focus attention at the state level. But the state governors are Nigerians, do we expect them, to behave differently? Do we expect to see sense among them? I don't think so. So I think that as a need for us, what only thing we can succeed in doing, whether that thing is going to be abused, yes, it's going to be abused. What we can do is to make sure that we control the extent of abuse.
aspect, because you spoke about the single commodity, which is actually the driving force of our economy. How well now we're looking at a country that is trying to look at its solid mineral resources and even agriculture. How much of it can we truly explore to actually reverse what we're dealing with at the moment? Because it doesn't look like we're producing much, are we?
Well, Suleiman, we talked about non-oil exports for a very long time. That's the structural adjustment program was what we try to. Nobody needs any telling. That for you to be dependent on one resource like Nigeria has been for a long time. That's a dangerous position to be in. So we talked about non-oil exports for a long time, but we don't seem to. We have lots of motions with little movement. Something that, solid minerals is there. You talk about gold in Elisha, you go to Zamfara State, people are exploiting the planes are flying into Nigeria, and they're taking this things out. And nobody is saying anything. And in fact, what you get is that even those in governance, those in authority, are even colluding, to exploit. And I say to us, all these monies we are accumulating, and where are we going to take it to? By the time you are dead and you are gone, what happens to those things? You won't take anything away. So I think that people should begin to spare a thought. We have a country here. We must begin to think about Nigeria. We must begin to think of putting Nigeria first. It is very important. Solid minerals is there. Zamfara, we've had what's been going on there, and nobody. So, I think Dera Leke has been appointed Minister of Solid Minerals. We hope that he will go there and clean up the system. Nigeria is very rich in minerals. All of us, we just concentrate on petroleum. You'll be surprised. When I was with Nigerian Economic Summit Group, and we were doing our studies, Vision 2010, 2020, and so on and so forth, lots of solid minerals in the plateau all over Nigeria. And then, but what has happened to it? Why do we allow non-state actors, to dominate the space? I think that is something that we should do. We shouldn't, we should do that also. We should begin to do things like, the condensed natural gas and so on and so forth, electric cars and so on. I think that diversification is the key word going forward.
On this, and it has to do with the Apex Bank. You're very familiar with the operations. The acting governor of the bank has said the bank will be taking steps to improve the liquidity in the foreign exchange market, sort of trying to see how it can implement measures to stabilize the naira.
Well, I think that's a good thing that's happening. Well, NNPC again, I don't know why we keep on putting our wrong foot forward. NNPC has gone to secure $3 billion loan from Afrexim Bank. And I say to myself, what does NNPC know about discussing loans terms and conditions? Well, okay, we are lucky we have the president of Afrexim is a Nigerian and so on. So we can begin to expect that, he would not want to do us a bad turn. But I think it's wrong. So NNPC, even if they are going to do that, even if they are part of the party, my friend Meli Kari should not be leading the team. I think that somebody from Central Bank should lead the team. And so you go and negotiate. And at the end of the day, that Central Bank has the mandate, the responsibility to maintain price and exchange responsibility. But let me say that, what's happening now, I just say the paper I did, that we just want to live for today, because we know today, but let's concentrate on today, because if we don't have today, we're saying the obvious, there'll be no tomorrow to worry about. But I think that we mustn't go to sleep and say to ourselves, that we've obtained $3 billion dollars again, which NNPC says is going to pay royalties and so on and so forth. And I think that that's going to be the panacea. No, it's just a band-aid, for instance, to make us stem, the falling rate of the exchange rate. So I think that's exactly what it is. But what really Nigeria should be doing now is to put on its thinking cap. I have said again in that paper that we should focus attention. I don't know why Dangote refinery cannot come on stream. If we stop fuel importation in this country, we'll save about 30% of the money we spend on foreign exchange. Foreign exchange we spend importing fuel. So I think it's one of those things. So we have to look at it and make sure that we are doing something. Why can't we get the local refineries? Why can we in this country stay for 20 years, 25 years? We have local refineries. We have 4 of them, and none of them is working. And instead, we were expending resources to keep those places, keep people idle in those places. I think it's criminal. It's a shame. You know, it should not be happening in Nigeria. You know, if we cannot maintain the refineries, we should sell them. President Obasanjo sold them, and Yar'Adua of the we reversed them. That was a very bad decision, because if the refineries went to private sector, by now they'd be producing, and all these problems we have with fuel importation would not be there. I can assure you. So I think that's the thing. So, but they are going to license Bureau de Change and so on and so forth. Maybe that would assist. But you know, the problems again you have with Bureau de Change, they've assured us that if they're there, that the rates will not be falling as it is. But I think that all that for me is balderdash. You know, I think that you know, the rates will only hold to the extent that you have supply of liquidity in the market.
Also, so many thanks for being such a nice company, Dr. Boniface Chizea. Many thanks for your time.